Let's see what will you learn. We'll create an employee interface on the client side, create an employee service, create an employee list component, create a page for adding employees, and run the finished Angular web application. So we will consume the web API that we built in part 1. And in this video lecture, we shall consume the web API that we built in part 1 with Node.js, Express.js, and MongoDB. And if you are coming straight to this tutorial, you may like to visit the web API tutorial available at this location on YouTube. Okay. And let's see what we built in the last lecture before moving on with the Angular web application. So this is the application, if you remember, that we built last time. And we have got this mean stack example, the root node, and there is a server folder. And within this server, there is a source folder having a few files. Okay. Now, to run this application, I will issue this command, npx ts node, that we learned in the last session. I'll hit enter. So server running at HTTP localhost, that is the port number. Now if you follow this link, it will get to this error page, but because I have not routed to employees, which is the right route, and I'm instantly brought to the employees collection on MongoDB cluster that we saw in the last video. So it is highly recommended that you go through that web API tutorial before moving on to this with the Angular application. But if you are confident in having how to build the web API with the MongoDB Node and Express, then you can jump right into this tutorial. No issues at all. So let's move on and build our web application with Angular. So now we'll build the client-side Angular application, and for that we'll use the Angular CLI, or command line interface, to scaffold the application. Now to install it, I will open a new terminal. Okay, so we'll have to keep the server running all the time in order to see the Angular web application in action to the extent that we are going to build, and when we are going to run, the server should be running in the background, because remember, this is the Angular web application which is consuming the backend web API which we have built. Okay, so let's click on terminal and a new terminal. All right, so it's also on the same my mean stack final folder, and here I will give a command which is, hope you are able to see this, but I will zoom it further. So all right, just close this and then control backtick. Sorry, it is lost. I'll just put it a little to the left side to get more real estate. All right, so -G stand for global, and at / command line CLI, and hit enter. Let's see. So it is installing, Node Package Manager is installing the Angular CLI. Okay, so again, it's important to keep the server running while you are working on the client side, so which I have already shown that it is running. Okay, so these the Angular command line interface has been added with 33 packages, and removed 10 packages, changed so many packages. Now the fun is, you can see I have got two terminals. This terminal here, the server is running for the backend at port 5200, and here it is the front end that I'm building. The next is we'll have to navigate to the root directory of the project and run the command. Okay, so let's see. So I will cd again to mean stack example, which is my root folder. All right, and then I will issue this command. All right, so under the mean stack example, I've got this mean stack example slash server. This is the server. So now I will issue this command. So follow along. ng for Angular, ng new client routing hash. Okay, that's it. So it is saying something ng user cannot be loaded because the running script is disabled on this system. Okay, so at this position I came across this error. So let's see how to solve this. So I have to browse to this directory. So I'll copy this part. Control C. And then open it on the file explorer. So the problem is again that C uses Kaushik app data roaming /npm ng.ps1 cannot be loaded because running script is disabled on this system. Now I found a solution for this, that remove ng.ps1 from the directory and then try clearing the npm cache. Okay, so let me go back to that directory, and I have gone back to that directory, Kaushik app data roaming npm, and I will just delete this. Let me see if it helps me. Delete. That's it, and I don't need to do anything further, and then come back to the code, and then let me try running it again. Something is happening now. Would you like to share the anonymous usage data about the yes or no? Okay. Yes. Okay, which of the, now this is better. Which style sheet format would you like to use? CSS. No, I would like to do CSS. Okay. Now it is installing the packages. All right. So after it finishes, I will come back again. See, it is still installing all the packages and it has already created the client directory. So once it finishes, I will cd to that client directory and I will issue a command ngserve to actually run the application in its current state. So now it comes back with all the packages installed successfully. Directory is already under version control, skipping initialization of Git. Okay, so I'm not worried about the version control. However, the version control, so many files are ready to be published, so I will do that later. But first I will cd to this client directory, which is the Angular front end. Okay, so cd client. So it is now I'm on the client directory, and then I will issue this command ngserve and output directory -o. Okay, so let's see what happens. So it is generating browser application bundles, setup phase, and it will take a while, you know, sometimes a couple of minutes before it actually builds the server and we can browse our freshly created Angular front-end application, just the templated application. So this is our front-end application. Angular, built in Angular, is running on the localhost 4200 port. All right, so we can, at the moment, we can stop that and we can start building our application. Now we'll Control C to stop the application, and we'll start from fresh. Now finally, for styling, we'll use Bootstrap. Now we'll add something to the head section in the source index.html. So this is the client, this is the source folder, and where is the index.html? Now, so what I will do, I have actually made this GitHub full repository for the front end as well as the back end application, KRC Home mean stack example, and I will be just expanding and browsing to the correct file and folder, and then what I will do, I will just copy. So in the source, I had got this index.html, and I will click on raw to get the raw version of this, and I will just copy the code, okay, and come back to my Visual Studio Code application and paste it there. So henceforth, what I shall do is, whenever I need to change a code or add a code into an empty file or a templated file, newly created file, I will just come back and browse to my code at the relevant section of this application, and then just click on that file, come back to raw, and then take the code and paste it. So I will not be showing this repository again and again, but it will be down there in the description. Okay, save it. Okay, this will save a lot of time, of course, on unnecessary typing, and you can take that time in actually explaining. Okay, so it has got the title is as client base href front slash, and these are the 5 lines that I needed to add in. So there is a href to a CDN, okay, content developer network for the Bootstrap minimum class, and then a script source. There is a script source for the Bootstrap, that is the JavaScript, and the cross origin is anonymous. So let's don't bother about the cross origin, but we'll just get going. Now we'll create an employee interface on the client side. So similar to our server side application, we'll create an Angular interface for our employees. We'll use the employee interface to define the properties of our employee objects. So we'll open a new terminal window and run the command. So our new terminal window is already there. It's running that client side Angular web application, and I've got this server side. Okay, so these two are separate and distinct entity. So as I have been saying repetitively, the server should be running at any time that you would like to run the entire application with the front end as well as the back end. So the code is excuse my typing, just all the time doing some funny tricks. ng generate interface employee. So it will generate an employee interface. Okay, let's wait. So as you can see, it has already created source app employee.ts. Okay, so source app, so this is employee.ts. This is the JavaScript file, or TypeScript file rather. So this is the interface. You can see export interface employee. Now in this interface, the code for this interface will come again from this GitHub. So this is again the employee TypeScript employee interface file. So I will just click on raw and copy everything, and then just write it over and then save it, and then go back again. Next, to create a employee service. Now Angular recommends separating your business logic from your presentation logic. Now that's why we'll create a service that handles all communication with the employee endpoint of the API. The service will be used by the components in the application. To generate the service, we'll run this command ng generate service. Like previously it was ng generate interface, now it will be ng service, then employee. So employee service it will generate. So it has generated employee service app. In the app folder, it has got employee.service.ts. So this is employee.service.ts. Okay. Now this is my employee.service.ts file, and I will copy the code from here and paste it over here again. And then save it. Here you are using HTTP client service to make HTTP requests. As you can see, performs HTTP request. This service is available as an injectable class with methods to perform HTTP requests. Each request method has multiple signatures and the return type varies based on the signature that is called. Alright. And the HTTP client service is provided by Angular through the HTTP client module. It's not part of the application by default, so we need to import it in the app.module.ts. So let's open the app.module.ts file. This file. Okay. So we'll import this statement. Anywhere should do. Or you can just do it at the top of the module. So import within curly braces HTTP client module. From, it takes the rest of the thing from @angular/common/http. Okay, and then save it. Right. Now we'll add the module to the list of imports in the app.module class. So what is the app module class? This is the app module class, app.module.ts. So following the app routing module, just put a comma and then put this HTTP client module. Okay, and then save it again. Next, we'll create a new page that displays a table with our employees. Now for that, we'll create an employee list component, and we'll create a new page for our table with employees. In Angular, a component is a reusable piece of code that can be used to display a view. We'll create a new component called employee list or employees list, and then also register it with /employees root in the application. And to generate the component, again, this is the ng generate component. So here it is under source app and employees list component .ts. Okay, so just put it to the left side as much as possible. So this is my employees list component .ts, and in here I will again get back to my mean stack example code, GitHub source code, and get it from here. So employees list component.cs, go to raw, copy everything, highlight and copy everything, and then highlight and then copy it over. All right, so employees list component.ts. So that component is also there. We'll just close this to show you the more real estate. So this is employees list component, and it has got a decorator as component, @component decorator. This @component decorator is used to indicate that this class is a component. The selector property, this is the selector property, is app employees list is used to specify the HTML tag that will be used to display this component. Okay. There is a spoiler alert. We won't use this selector at all. Instead, we will register the component as a route. The template property is, this is the template property. This template property is used to specify the HTML template that will be used to display the component. So this is the HTML template. So name, position, level, action. Okay. The implementation of the class contains the logic for the component. The ng-on-init method. So there is an ng-on-init method. So on-init method so this ng-on-init method is called when the component is rendered on the page. So this dot fetch employees. Now this is a good place to fetch the list of employees. For that we are using the employee service we created earlier. Now the get employees method. So let's see, where is the get employees method. This is the fetch employees method, and this is the within the fetch employees method it uses the get employees method. So get employees method returns an observable. We subscribe to it with the async pipe in the template. This will automatically render the list of employees as soon as the data is available. We are using a table to display the employees together with a few bootstrap classes that make it look nicer. Okay, so this is an observable. Now we said that get employees method returns an observable, and we subscribe to it with the async pipeline in the template. So this is the async pipeline. Okay, so t body, table body, ng for let employee of employees within the employees. And this is the pipe symbol and async. So this is async pipeline. Okay, this is the async pipe in the template. And for seeing what is the content of the gets employees, we have to come to the services, employee services.ts, and here is there are quite a few methods here, functions. So get employees is this dot refresh employees, and this it returns this dot employees. Okay, now what is this refresh employees? And this refresh employees it uses the HTTP client and calls the get method of the employee array and passes this dot URL dot employees, and then it subscribes to the employees and it goes to the next employee. So subscribe method is an observable of employee, and this next value. Okay, so it subscribes and to the next. So this part is very important. It refreshes the employee. So it is an observable. So if it subscribes, if there is a change in the status of the employee, it is notified and it then goes for the next employee. Okay. There are also a few actions in the template for editing, deleting, and adding new employees. The router link attribute is used to navigate to the employee edit ID route, which we will implement later in the tutorial. The click event is used to call the delete employee method. This method implemented in the class uses the employee service to delete an employee. Now that we have created our component, we need to register it as a route in the app.routing.module.ts file, and we will replace the contents of this file. So let's see app.routing.module.ts. So this is our app.routing.module.ts, and in which we will get the code. So app and app.routing.module.ts, click on raw, click on whatever is, just copy on your clipboard whatever is available over here, and then copy it over, Control A, highlight everything, and then Control V. Okay, and then I will explain it in a bit. So these are not there, cannot find modules, so this will come at the moment. Okay, and we will come back to it. So at the moment these two components are not required because we haven't built it, so we'll come back to it later. So what we'll do, it will we'll actually edit and we'll toggle block comment. Okay, we'll toggle these two. So basically this is actually not viewing it correctly, so I will basically get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. Okay, and then also these two paths, these two line of code. This will come back and add it later, so let me come back again. So till from here till we'll get rid of it. Okay, and then save. So there was a Angular, this is a brace, square bracket, so it is closing it. So we'll close this, and at ng module everything else is the same. Fine. And then we'll go to the app.component.ts file, app.component.ts file. Okay, and we'll remove the extraneous content from the template, and we'll leave only the router outlet tag wrapped in the div tag. So what we'll do is import component from Angular core, component selector approot template, and rather than we have got template URL and style URL, we'll get rid of that, and we'll make this template and we'll start writing the template ourselves. So this is a div, class, container MD, router outlet, and end router outlet, and end div, okay. So div class, something is wrong here, squiggly lines, property boolean, expected view problem, no quick fix is available. So we'll get back to our code on the visual on the GitHub, and then come back again after copying it on the clipboard. Actually this is not single quote, but this is backtick. Okay, so this is backtick, so everything will be within this backtick. So this is here. So if I put this template within backtick, let's see, within backtick. All right, it has taken care of the errors. Okay, there we are. This is Angular for you. Okay, template has to be written within a pair of backticks. Now I've given this Angular application a run command with ngserve o again. Let's see. So you can see that we have a table and we have some employees, because that is where I have done from a previous run of this application. I have created an actual database and I have all these employees already there. That's why it is coming. Okay, so what I can do, I can if I click on add a new employee, nothing will come up because nothing is there actually, and it is just deleting employees. Okay, and for edit it cannot add an edit. Okay, that's from a previous run. So we'll get with that. If you click on add employee, nothing will happen. Now we'll create a page for adding employee. I will keep it open now. Okay, so I'll keep it open, keep it running, as well as the server is running in the background. Okay, web API. Now we'll create a page for adding employees. So for that, again, I'll have to break Control C to break the live session, and then ng generate component employee form. We'll create an employee form because we need a form for filling in name, position, level to create a new employee. For editing existing employees, we'll need a similar form. So we'll create an employee form now. So ng generate so this should generate an employee form. Now let's start by importing the reactive forms module in our app module.ts, not app routing, but this. Let me close this. Most of these files which are not important at the moment, close all. Okay, come from the fresh, from the scratch again, fresh slate. So we'll get app.module.ts. So where is the app.module.ts? App.module.ts. Okay, so here we will import the reactive forms module. So import, this is the one. Reactive forms module. Okay, from Angular/forms. Okay, this is the new line we have added, and we'll be again importing it over here after the employee form component. Sorry, browser module, app routing module, HTTP client module, and after that it will import the reactive forms module. Reactive forms module, tab, Control S for saving it. Provide this empty array bootstrap app component and export class app module. Right, now we can use Angular's form builder to create a reactive form. So we'll go for employee form component.ts, employee form. This is nicely created in its own folder, employee form. So employee form component.ts, employee form component.ts, component.spec.ts, employee form component.ts. So this is employee form component.ts, and again I will get some more real estate by putting it on the left side. So I've got this component, and I will create the reactive form, and I will get a few import statements. All right. So we have got import component on init. So I've got an event emitter also over here. Event emitter, we'll come back to it later. What is the event emitter on init? And there is the input, and there is on init, and then there is an output. So basically these are for emitting events, when so transferring from parent to children and from the children to parent components, it uses input and output. Okay, right. So, and a few more import statements are there. So now I will go to employee form component.ts and then copy everything over there and then Control C to copy and then highlight everything and then copy it over. Okay, and then save it. There's a lot of code here, but there isn't anything groundbreaking to it. We are just using the form builder to create a reactive form with 3 fields, and we are also adding validation to the form. Now the template is displaying the error message in case there is a validation error. And we are using @input, that is what I said. We are using @input to pass in the initial state of the form from the parent component, and the type of @input is behavior subject employee because we might pass async data into the form. For example, the parent component might fetch the employee data from an API and pass it to the form. The child component will get notified when the new data is available. And the @output, so this output, this @output is an event emitter that will emit the form values whenever the form is submitted. The parent will handle the submission and send an API call. Okay, and I was talking about it is using 3 fields. Okay, so these are the 3 fields. You can see name, and then this is some validation, name.errors. It should be a minimum length of at least 3 character long, and name field as such is name is required field. Okay, and then this is another type text, another text box, and it has got a placeholder position, and form control name is position, and the label is position. Okay, so name, position, and then some validation for position, like it is a required field and position must be at least 5 characters long. Okay, and then there is a input type radio, and radio button is for level junior. For level junior it is junior, and for level mid, and some junior, mid, and senior. These are 3 radio buttons. Okay, and there is a submit button. Right, the next step is to implement the add employee component. So we'll generate a component. So control plus backtick, it will again generate that, it will open the terminal for me. There is a shortcut key, control and backtick. Right, so ng generate component. It starts from here. Add -employee. I'm not sure what this M flag stands for, but you can have a look at the NPM website. So now this will create a component, add employee component. So this is the add employee component. So I think we are, you have put the zoom to very high extent. So I'll reduce the zoom. I'll zoom out a little, so it is more easily visible, right? So it's just a compromise between, looking at big formatted, big font size, and being able to accommodate maximum possible thing within the real estate available to us. Okay, so here within this employee component.ts, I have to change the code. So this employee component.ts code will come from again our GitHub source code, good old GitHub source code. So hopefully you will be understanding that due to time restraint, I'm not able to copy everything. It will take hours actually So hopefully you'll be all right. You'll permit me, you'll forgive me for this. So employee form, not the employee form, add employee. Okay, so add employee dot component dot ts. I will take the raw version, copy everything, copy it over, and then save it. Okay, it's quite a few things on how to add an employee, new employee. So it has all these import statements: component from Angular core, router from Angular router, employee from ..front/ employee, and employee service from ..employee service. Okay, so this is also created in the app folder, and employee service is created outside, so that's why it has to go out and then look for employee service and as well as the employee interface. Right, so now we are using the employee form, and whenever the add employee component receives a form submission, it will call the employee service to create the employee. The employee service will emit an event when the employee is created, and the add employee component will navigate back to the table of employees. While we are at it, let's implement the component for editing an employee. Now we'll have to create a component for editing an employee. This is add employee component. Okay, this is add employee method. It is employee interface. Okay, this is employee is actually a parameter. It actually implements employee interface. This .employee services. See, employee service is called .create employee .subscribe .next. Okay, this .router .navigate front/ employee, and if it is error, it will alert. It will put an alert screen with failed to create employee. Okay, and it will write it on the console also. Add employee component. It's simple enough, not much of a problem. And then ng generate I'm sorry, what is happening here? Sorry, collection schematic is required. Okay, that's fine. I didn't look at it. So ng, just typing on the existing command. So ng generate component edit employee ng generate component edit employee m flag app again. So again, this edit employee component is created, and then we'll finally this edit the edit employee component .ts file. This is the edit employee component, and for that again we'll look into our source code, good old GitHub source code, and then app, go back to app folder, edit employee component .ts, click on raw, copy everything, highlight this and copy it over, and then save it. The usual steps. So this is app routing, and go click on raw. So it is the app routing module.ts file is there, and we'll copy everything, and then we'll just highlight this and paste this. Okay. So previously I was still copying something wrong. Now it's all right. All right, it's all done now, and let's start the application once again, because I've stopped the application to make those changes, add and edit components, etc. So all right, this is the command ngservo. You can see again it is generating browser application bundles setup page. The browser has come up. Click on add a new employee. So add, say, Jack. Say anything like DevOps. Add. Okay, you could successfully add the employee. So this is all CRUD applications happening. So now if you edit it, you should be able to edit Jack and Jill, whatever. Junior position, DevOps, Jack and Jill. You can now delete. You can add a new employee, create another employee. Developer, senior developer, add it, create another employee, Julie, operator, mid operator, add it. So Jack, Harry and Julie both are there. All right, so we have been able to successfully do all the create four functionalities: create, retrieve, update and delete for an employee database. Okay, so what is our conclusion? So in this application we have been successfully able to bind a front end which consumes our web API backend that we have created in the previous tutorial. And thank you all for joining me on this journey and following along. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot. And you are using the same language throughout the stack. With the mean stack JavaScript, additionally MongoDB's document model makes it natural to map data to objects, and MongoDB's Atlas Forever Fleet cluster makes it easy to host your data without worrying about costs. Thank you very much.